Please welcome Dr. Eleanor Duelley, Power from Within.
Thank you.
Clicker's up there.
Okay. Well, thank you, everybody. Thank you for this invitation. And here we are. Here we are. I noticed I'm the only speaker that was in the back part of the room with the facts and figures gal. That's me. So this is going to be a little bit different. We loved the previous speakers, talked a lot about emotions. I'm going to talk a little bit about the biology and the power that we have from within our own bodies. Just a clarification, I'm a naturopathic doctor, so the neuro part was a little, might have thrown a little through me, but I'll get into a little bit about that, but I'm just so happy to be here. There was a time in my life when I'm sure a lot of you can relate, really busy season. I had 3 school-age children, I was in grad school, and I was working full-time while managing a household, doing all of those things as well. Discipline came naturally to me, probably because I was raised in an immigrant household and joined the military after college and then married into the military. My husband is here today. The only male in the room, but he's here to support me. So uprooting our lives and rerouting them every 2 to 3 years takes a lot of organization and discipline. And I was a master at time management. And one thing I really couldn't master, though, was some of the physical symptoms that I was experiencing. I was really tired. I had brain fog, I had a hard time concentrating, and so I did what any of us would do, Google the symptoms and find out the best program or package or thing that I could do online to fix it. And it worked, because I got a big whiteboard calendar for my kitchen that was color-coded, and it had everybody's activities on it, and it worked. It unfortunately did not work for my physical symptoms, which came on even stronger. And so I did what any of us would do, is like call it and go, I'm going to go to the doctor, and I'm going to get this figured out, because surely the tests, the blood work, all of that stuff is going to be able to pinpoint why I'm so tired and why I cannot kick this with extra naps and getting up earlier and working out harder. Great news, there's nothing wrong with you, and your blood work is perfectly fine. You are normal, is the word that she used. And I remember feeling crestfallen, because I was like, I thought you were going to tell me all of the things that I needed to do to fix this. And what ended up happening is I said, okay, well, what's next then? What's the next test that we've got to do? Because if there's nothing here, there's got to be something more specific. And she kind of looked at me and said, that's not what we do here. I can give you a prescription for an antidepressant to really help you from all of the physical stressors, but we're pretty much done here. And I remember thinking in that moment that if I wanted to figure this out, I had to understand my own body. And I had to understand why these things were happening. So for the last 8 years of clinical practice, I have been studying blood work, and I've been studying how the body works so that I can figure out where the symptoms come from. And once you understand your body, the knowledge of that becomes your greatest source of power from within. Oh, there we go. I'm Dr. Eleanor Duelley. I created a naturopathic practice so women could come because they were tired of symptom management. They wanted clarity about their bodies. And I'm a licensed dietitian nutritionist, and my work focuses on analyzing the function of the body through looking at blood work. And I'm trained to look at patterns and connect your symptoms with your blood work to find what the underlying imbalances are. You've probably heard one or many of these statements said to you, and they're not wrong, technically, right? We might need to get better sleep, right? We might need to reduce our stress. Does anybody need to reduce their stress, right? And again, it's not wrong, but women leave offices taking this list as a list of instructions to be more disciplined, to double down on their discipline. And we've all tried those things without sustainable success. And don't get me wrong, doctors have the best of intentions, I'm sure. And it's not that they don't care. It's just not their job. Their job is to treat disease. And if there's no disease present, there's nothing for them to give you. And so we get left with these vague instructions and more questions. Women come to me asking what's going on because apparently everything is fine and normal, and they just don't feel that way. So what I tell them is, this is not about discipline. You can't out-discipline your metabolism. Learning how your metabolism works is the first step at understanding what is causing the symptoms that you're having. You deserve to know what's going on in your body. Most women come into my office and they sit down and they say, I've got two main things going on, my weight and my energy. And I have tried, yeah, I think we all can relate. I don't see these as symptoms I'm writing down in a checklist. I actually use these as metabolic signals. Okay, when you feel off, more effort, unfortunately, ladies, doesn't fix it. Okay, but understanding the factors will, and it all starts with understanding your blood sugar. Now, before we can talk about menopause, right, the big M word, maybe the ladies that aren't even close to that, for you that might be menstruation or anything in between. But before we can talk about that, we have to talk about blood sugar. And when I use the term blood sugar, it is interchangeable with glucose. So if you hear these terms, don't get confused. You might also hear the term HA1C or hemoglobin A1C. That's an average of your blood sugar over a 3-month period. If you've heard those terms from those Ozempic commercials, right? Lowering your blood sugar. That's kind of what I'm going to get into today because there's some important nuggets of information that you need to know. All of your glucose creates energy in your body, and we get glucose from consuming carbohydrates. We love our carbohydrates, right? We're told not to have them, and then you can have them, but you can only have these ones, right? Carbohydrates give the body energy, whether it's a carrot or a cupcake, okay? Your body will digest that and release glucose into your system. And the whole job of that system is to get glucose into the cell so you can have energy. That is what it does, okay? Glucose cannot get into the cell unless insulin is present. Insulin is a hormone that your body makes, your pancreas makes. So insulin shows up, it allows glucose into the cell, and you have good energy, you have clear thoughts, and you're not gaining any weight, right? When this system works well, it's fantastic. Okay, but when it doesn't work well, that's when women start not feeling well, and we start gaining weight without really changing our diet very much. But insulin does more than just unlock the cell. Insulin, insulin is the director. So basically, insulin determines if you're going to stay storing fat. We don't want that one. We want the one where glucose gives us energy, okay? And high insulin makes your cells not want to use glucose for energy. So we don't want that. We don't want to be in that state. Metabolically, it's not good. We don't like the way it looks. We don't like the way it feels. And it's not good for the rest of the systems in our body. So when I get my blood work done, I went to my regular doctor and I said, my annual physical, and I said, you do all the paperwork and ask all the generic questions. And I said, are you going to add insulin to my blood work panel? And she looked at me and she's like, no, why would I do that? And I said, well, I'd really like to know. I know it's an important marker. And she said, no, we only do that if you have a metabolic imbalance, i.e. your glucose or your A1C are out of whack. And I said, well, they love me in there, by the way, asking all of these questions and demanding things that they just don't want to deal with. One of the most important things I can tell you today is that metabolic imbalance can happen in your body without the A1C and glucose being dysregulated. What that means for you is they're not going to test you for things, and they can be out of whack and give you information. And why this is important is because on routine blood work, insulin is usually not included. So when they tell you it's normal, you're healthy, if that wasn't included, then they don't know and you don't know. Women feel stuck in this phase of elevated insulin and they don't even know it. So let's talk about what keeps your insulin elevated, because that's something that we can do, something we can do about it. Okay, so first thing. Now, I'm going to say some things that you've probably heard, maybe you even practiced, and don't get me wrong, there's times and places for all of these things. So obviously this is a little bit general, but when your body is stressed, okay, your body releases a hormone called, does anybody know? Cortisol. We all know that one, right? Cortisol raises your blood sugar, which keeps your insulin high. So I'm going to talk about a few stressful situations that will show you how your cortisol stays elevated. Okay, fasting. Okay, fasting it got super popular 10, 20 years ago. We all are fasting now. We're skipping breakfast. And metabolically, this might work for some people. But if you don't know if your blood sugar and your insulin are functioning well, and you add a stressful bodily function like fasting, it raises your cortisol, which raises your blood sugar and keeps your insulin high. Okay? And it's also a clever way to wrap up dieting and make it sound like it's clinical. Just my personal opinion. Okay. Working out fasted. Has anybody tried this? I used to be a personal trainer and a group fitness instructor, and I was part of a program that told you to work out fasted because it's going to burn all that fat that we've got hanging around, not the food that we're eating. We won't use that. We'll just use all the fat that I'm trying to get rid of. Unfortunately, that's not how your biology works. What happens is when you're working out, that's stressful on the system, right? We need it, but it's stressful. And under-eating is also stressful. So guess what that's going to raise? Cortisol, blood sugar, and keep your insulin high. Now don't come at me, okay? Caffeine and protein bars. Anybody a fan? Yeah, I'm a huge fan. I love coffee. It's my thing. And if there's women that come into my office, like, please don't tell me I can't drink coffee. Just please. And I'm not saying in everything in moderation, right, ladies? The reason I wrote this up there is because when we use caffeine and protein bars as, processed chemicals dipped in chemical chocolate, right? And we think, I'll just grab this and go, right? This is not nutrition. Caffeine raises cortisol. That's its job. That's why we drink it, mostly, if you don't love it. Sugar. All of these things raise your cortisol. So in moderation, with properly balanced nutrition, no problem. And once in a while, if your blood sugar is low and you haven't eaten all day, of course, grabbing a protein bar is not a big deal. But if we are relying on this, this is going to keep your cortisol high, which keeps your insulin high. Okay? And the last one, poor sleep. Who wishes they had better sleep? All of us, right? It's not a matter of, I sure hope I sleep tonight. Although that's kind of how we treat it. It's not my fault I didn't sleep last night. I was up at 3 a.m., right? Who's got that 3 to 4 a.m. wake up? And we just love to think about all the things we've got to do. Yes. Okay. I'm not going to go into this in depth, but I am going to tell you, if you have poor or interrupted sleep, it most likely is a nervous system regulation issue, which, as we were talking about earlier, if we go from stressful thing to thing to thing to thing to thing to thing, and then we're like, okay, I want to sleep now. The body doesn't do it that way. If your cortisol is consistently raised all day long, guess what else is raised? Your insulin. So we have to find better ways to regulate our nervous system. Okay, and I cannot leave the stage without talking about everybody's favorite hormone, estrogen, okay? Estrogen and insulin are friends, okay? Estrogen keeps insulin happy and low. So we love our estrogen, right? But what happens as we get older, ladies? Estrogen starts to make its departure. And by the way, it doesn't leave forever. We still need it, we still produce it, and we still have to detox from it, even if we're in a stage of life where we're not using it every month for ovulation. So it applies to everybody in this room. Well, every lady in this room. Our body is designed to naturally transition when our estrogen drops, okay? So when I say naturally transition, that means without symptoms, without hot flashes and weight gain, and all of these things that we're experiencing. So, well, then what's happening, Eleanor? If the system is already imbalanced, okay? It's already imbalanced, and then we add something else that takes away that help of balance, guess what? We become even more imbalanced. And then we add extra cortisol, and then we don't eat breakfast, and then we just grab a coffee. Nothing wrong with that in moderation. But we are compounding this, and then we're standing here going, I'm doing all the things. Why isn't it working for me? So natural transition in the body is natural. It is your body is meant to weather the storm. But I'm going to tell you, if you go get your blood work done, in my practice, I analyze blood work. I order it through something called LabCorp. Has anybody heard of LabCorp? Local lab, Quest is the same. You might have one in your own doctor's office. So I took these standard ranges from labcorp.com. They're not mine. I don't use them. But if you get your blood work printout, this is what will be on there, okay? So let's take a look at Duelley's blood work. She has fasting glucose, hemoglobin A1C, and fasting insulin. It's all green. No problem. You're healthy. You're normal. I'm normal. That's what they told me. So I said, okay, cool. I don't need to do anything else. I must be doing it right. I don't feel good, but I must be doing something right. Standard ranges are binary. That means they're either right or they're wrong. You either have a disease or you do not. But you and I both know that metabolic dysfunction Doesn't happen overnight. You don't wake up one day with diabetes having absolutely no clue that there is something wrong. That's not how the system works. It's gradual. And so, if we can know this stuff, why aren't we looking at it? Because I look at something called optimal range. Now, if we look at this blood work a little bit differently, I look at function in the body. So I'm looking how far from optimal is my body actually functioning. And you can see I used orange as to not scare anybody. But I am clearly well out of range for optimal function. Standard function, you're good to go. Come back when you have a disease and I've got all the solutions for you. But why would we wait? Why are we waiting? The reason we're waiting is because we don't know. We don't have this information. We don't understand this information. So when I analyze blood work, I'm looking at optimal range. And if you look even closer, my fasting insulin, 15, I'm in that fat storage range, which is going to tell me I'm not going to lose weight with diet and exercise. Not that those aren't important, please. They're important. And they are part of a system. They're not just one thing that you do and you're done. And you work really, really, really hard at it. And you're done. And then you don't see the results. This is why blood work matters. And this is why understanding it matters more. Okay, so we can look at things as an old model, right? We have a symptom. We Google it. We find the solution. We follow somebody on Instagram that has the same thing as me. We buy all of their supplements. And then 6 months later, we're like, I'm worse than I was 6 months ago. And I thought I was doing all of the things. There's a new way to look at this, ladies. Ask better questions. Get more from your practitioners. Identify the reason and the system in the body that is causing the imbalance. That is how you get to the root cause. Root cause is like this new buzz term of everybody wants to know why. We're tired of being told, it's fine, don't worry about it. Come back when it's worse. Why would we wait? Okay, I'm going to run through these. I got a few minutes. We all know the basics, right? We all know nutrition is important. A lot of us have allowed the diet culture to mess with our intuition, okay? Here's the easy. People come into my office with all of these. I eat cabbage in the morning and then I drink celery at night and all of these things, and I say, look, whole food is best, period. I don't need to really say more than that. If you're trying to get nutrition through processed chemicals, your body doesn't understand that DNA. It just doesn't. Your lifestyle, we all live in a toxic world, ladies. We love our nails, our hair, our products, our makeup, our clothing, and there's nothing wrong with those things. But we have to do better at understanding how they affect our health. If we're getting toxins absorbed into our skin on a daily basis and we're not pooping every day, we are keeping toxins in our body and it is damaging our cells and systems. Natural is always best. I don't even really need to say more than that. Gut health. All of us have been touched by gut health, whether personally or someone in our lives. We have to understand how to take care of our gut. And that is one of the key issues. You could have the perfect diet on paper. In fact, I have a whole list of clients that do. But they don't digest and absorb the nutrients from their food. So their systems are suffering and they're deficient in nutrients. They're taking all the supplements and they're still deficient. And I can tell this by looking at their blood work. But everything looks fine. So Just keep doing what you're doing. Detox. Now, this is again another buzzword. Everybody's got the perfect system and plan in place. I'm just going to tell you, if somebody is recommending something to you that doesn't know you, that doesn't know your health history, has not looked at your blood work or understand your symptoms, their recommendations are surface level at best. And they probably have good intentions, and they're also probably trying to sell you something. But you have to understand the data. And if you don't, you're in luck, because I do. And I can help you understand that. Get updated blood work. Hopefully that point has come across. If you're unclear of what people are like, I don't know what labs, I don't know all the words. Take a picture of this. And take this. If you're getting blood work done, if you're lucky enough to have insurance, and you get annual blood work, get it done. But as for these things, they probably won't like that very much. But don't worry, if you don't have access to these tests, I can get them for you. And I can explain the whole picture. I was proactive, I was disciplined, and I was extremely committed to my health. I just didn't know where to look. Once I learned how to get the right blood work and understand it, I learned how to regulate my insulin. And once I did that, ladies, I lost 60 pounds, my brain fog is pretty much gone, and I have energy again. I actually feel like myself. This reminds me of a quote from one of my favorite movies, and the book was written by Alice Walker, and she said, "The most common way people give up their power is by thinking they don't have any." You have always had the power. It's in your blood work, it's in your body, and it's in your DNA. When you understand your blood sugar and your insulin, your health becomes less confusing and less frustrating. Better energy is never about willpower and discipline. It's about information. You just need someone to show you where to look. And that is your power from within. And it has been yours all along. Thanks.
I just gave you my whole life story.
Oh.